welcome. Thank you for coming, and anybody else that joins. I'm so excited to be presenting to you today. I do have an actual presentation that I follow so that it helps me stay on point. But I always say to any of my participants, this presentation is one that you're not going to forget. It is also one that you're going to want to take lots of screenshots or pictures or take notes, because I've been doing the same presentation now for several years, and I have realtors come back to me a year after, and they'll say, can you remind me that presentation? Now I'm ready. Like now I'm kind of ready. Or they'll say, I just want to tweak a little what I'm doing. Can you remind me what you did or what that presentation was? So I know it's very impactful, even though off the bat, you might not think it is just based off of the title. But when we get into it, you're like, wow, this is pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If I can do that. There we go. I'll introduce myself in a minute after I share the title of our presentation today, but I don't know why, but for as long as I possibly can think of, the idea of retiring one day was always a fascination of mine since I was very young, very, very young. And so my presentation today is called Retire Ready. It's the ultimate banking system set up so retirement is possible. When I come across a real estate agent, no matter what stage they're in, if they're early career, mid-career, late career, this idea of retirement is always in the back of their mind. And they're always like thinking, one day I'll think of that. One day I'll get to that. One day I'll plan for that. But they don't exactly know how, and they don't exactly have a system on how to do that. So that is why I've created this incredible program that I teach real estate agents about, is how to get this up and running. So a little bit about me. I always like to say that this is my education and training program. Everything in here is completely training related, and every person's situation is different, right? Your situation is different than mine. So take the material and always talk to your tax advisor or your legal advisor on how this pertains to you and how you may be able to have it work for you. Because the honest truth is, a lot of professionals out there don't even understand this concept of how to make this system work. So it's hard for them to themselves teach you about it because they don't know about it. A lot of times my clients are bringing it to their accountant saying, how do I implement this in my business? So always make sure you're talking to your professionals. So an introduction. I am living in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. I've been here for about 13 years now. This is all by design of life. I'm surrounded by 5 incredible, beautiful beaches that are non-touristy, if I can say it that way, kept for locals. Incredible food, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of restaurants. Nobody that lives here is really from here. We've all migrated from all over the world because we found this beautiful piece of heaven. And that truly is what I feel about Charleston. It is heaven on earth. It's divine to live here. And I feel very blessed to be able to do that. But it always wasn't that way for me. I grew up to a single mom on welfare. We were in complete poverty, and we lived that way for 16 years of my life. My mom suffered several mental disorders that caused her to not be able to work. She was actually considered disabled because of her mental disabilities. We were constantly moving because one of her disorders was panic disorder. So she would always think people were watching us, amongst other things. Unfortunately or fortunately, I say it was divine intervention, not the way I would have wanted it to happen, but it's the way it happened. At age 16, the tiny apartment that we lived in completely burned down. And no fault of our own. An attached garage next to us. We hear this all the time in real estate. had some oily rags sitting in the garage and they combusted. And then that caused the whole place that we lived in to burn down. And we became homeless. We had no family really willing to take us in and no shelters around where I lived. I lived in a very rural town. There was nothing. And so we literally slept in my car that I had. My mom didn't have a car for a few nights until we could kind of figure out what our next steps were. At that point, I had already made the decision. I was going to move on my own. I recognized that in order for me to change the trajectory of my future that had been lived for generations before me, hundreds of years of poverty is in my history, that I had to be the person to do something differently. So I decided my mom was gonna figure it out. She was gonna move to a nearby city, and I moved out on my own. And I literally blood, sweat, and tears got myself through high school. And the one good thing that I was very aware of is my mind. I knew that if I used my brain, I could get myself anywhere. And so I got myself into college and I figured that out. I got a degree in psychology, actually, and I was a therapist for a little while, which is why I love doing what I do. Then I went and got a master's degree in business, and I just like kept craving more learning. I kept craving more of what I didn't know. And then when it came to money, I graduated college and I went into finance. I got into the world of finance. I was a top applicant for a bank and stayed in the banking world for 15 years. And along that 15 years, I worked with over 10,000 business owners. When I left, I was in charge of over 1,000. My job in that world was to make businesses and business owners more wealthy. I had to look at their problems and I had to fix them. I had to put solutions together for their personal life and their business life and help make them more profitable, because when they were more profitable, my company was more profitable. And that was my job, and I excelled at it until I decided one day I'm going to jump into real estate, because my wealthiest clients, the number one thing they had was real estate. They all had some type of commercial or residential or some type of real estate. And that's how they built their wealth. And I said, I want to learn that. If I'm going to continue learning on this path, I want to learn how to do that. So at the age of 38, my husband and I became multimillionaires. I left my corporate job and I got myself into real estate. But I very quickly learned when I got into real estate, there was a disconnect in this industry. People could sell a lot of houses, and we are really good at selling houses, right? And we always think the solution is just sell more houses, just sell more houses. Next year, I'm going to sell more houses. But in reality is, because I've seen it, if we don't know how to manage our money when we're making $10,000, we're not going to know how to manage our money when we're making $1 million. The same behaviors are repeated over and over and over again. Even for my clients that are working with financial advisors, they're like, I'm a financial advisor, I should be great. They're not. They're absolutely not. So I decided to create the business that I have today, which is financial coaching specifically for real estate agents, where I help teach them how to manage their money. And I start where they're at, no matter where they are. They could be at the bottom, starting with just figuring out, how do I create an LLC, a business, all the way up to someone that has multiple teams and producing agents and might have hundreds and hundreds of agents underneath them and multiple lines of business. So I can help anybody where they're at. So when it comes to money and goals, we all know we should have our goals, right? Every January, we're so good at doing our goal workshops and we're planning for the whole year. We're like, yes, I know what I need to do. But in reality, we start building a plan sometimes as part of those workshops that we attend, but we really don't have a true plan. Like, it's going to take 30 houses, 50 houses, 100 houses, or it's going to take a margin of 30%, 50%, or whatever that might look like for us to really get to those goals, especially the idea of retirement. A lot of times we have no idea what we need for retirement. And even if we're working sometimes with a financial advisor, those numbers may have been run 10 years ago and we haven't run them since. So we know as agents, We know we should not have a lot of credit card debt. We know we should be saving for retirement somehow. We know we should have a lifestyle that exceeds our income. That's a kicker because sometimes we have amazing years in real estate, and what we have is that lifestyle creep, right? Oh, now this year I can go buy the new car I need. Now this year I can get my roof fixed. Now this year I can go on all the vacations I want to go on. So we start exceeding our income. And before we know it, the year after that, we correct a little bit, but we're still exceeding our income limitations. We know we should have a budget, and that's such like a taboo word. But I've lived by a budget since I was 16 when I had to move on my own. I had to. I had to support myself. I had to learn how to manage my own money because it meant food in my own body or me to be able to have a roof over my head. I call it a spending plan. Actually, a lifetime spending plan is what I call it if it's really good and it's really dialed in over the word of a budget. And here's the thing, and we can all think back to this. Think of your first home you sold. When we sold our first home, if we would know today what we should have known then sometimes, right? When I sell a house, my business made $10,000 commission. I did not make $10,000 commission. And we get that $10,000 check, and before you know it, it's all gone. A lot of times to pay off credit cards because we rack those up to get our business started and to get our marketing materials and to get our photography and all the things. So we're trying to pay ourselves back and we never then ever catch up. Couples. Oh my gosh. One of the areas that I see a lot is the relationship between two people and the management of their money between the two. One person typically manages a lot differently than the other. Sometimes it's better than the other, or sometimes both have no idea how to manage money. And here's what I say to that too. Knowing what I know now and knowing what I know, what I had to teach when I worked in finance, it is not your fault. It is not our fault because we do not know how to manage our money. Truly, it's not. It was never taught to us in education systems. It was not really taught by parents. We were taught by parents what they were doing. And maybe they too were mismanaging money, and maybe they were trying to do the best they could with also the non-education they had. So the passing of the generational information was just the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So couples, stress, it's because of inconsistent income from a real estate agent, our side of the household income. Financial disorganization happens all the time. And then lack of a financial plan. And then throw in there if there's two business owners, you have us as real estate agents, and then you have a spouse that's a business owner. That's almost like a double whammy sometimes when both partners or both people don't exactly know how to manage money. So here is the current formula we typically follow. And I've seen this from real estate agents in the business a year, and I've seen it in the real estate agents in the business for 40 years. Following the formula of I get my commission check, right? I then figure out what business expenses do I have to pay off that I've already charged. And then what business expenses are coming up this month that I have to pay in cash. Realtors dues, MLS fees, like what's the sense of urgency that I have to pay right now? So what do I have to set aside for that? Then if there's anything, we're very reactionary with our personal expenses, right? So we know kind of in their mind, oh my gosh, okay, I need to pay my mortgage. Let me go to my business account if I have a separate one. A lot of times we don't. Everything's commingled together just because we don't know. So I go to my business account and like, oh, I'm going to transfer $2,000 right now to my personal account because that's my mortgage payment. So let me make that transfer today. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to the grocery store. Let me transfer $50 tomorrow. And then in 3 days, oh, my kid's soccer game is coming up and they need new cleats. Let me transfer 25. So it's like transfers every day sometimes from the business account to the personal account because we're very reactionary with the money that we need. we don't really know, we haven't really written it out or planned it. How much do I actually need for the month to survive, to pay my bills? And then we know this. If there's anything left over at the end of the year, then we say, okay, that might be enough to pay my taxes. Or we might say, let's go on vacation. Or let's buy Christmas presents if there's anything left. Most of the time, there isn't anything left at the end of the year or the end of the month or the end of the quarter because we built our lifestyle to meet our expenses, So the correct formula, this is what I like to say. I came from a W-2 world. I find a lot of real estate agents at one point in their life had a W-2 job, even if you were a teenager when you did that. So an employer, if you think about it, an employer pays you, but before you get your check, they take your taxes out, right? If you work for someone that offered a 401k or some type of retirement, they took your taxes out, and they took your retirement out before you ever got your check, which is awesome, right? Because they know if we get the money in our account, we're going to spend it. So we don't ever get out of that habit of our employer doing those things for us. We stay in the habit, it's already done. So come check number one, we don't realize, oh, my real estate company did not take out my taxes. My real estate company did not take out for retirement. Oh, I'll think about that next year. I'll worry about that next year. And then before you know it, 10 years has gone by, 15 years has gone by, and we've compounded the effects of that. So the correct formula that we should be going after is just like a W-2 employee. We get our commission check. We set retirement money aside. Somehow, some way, some strategy, we get that money out. We then figure out, what are my portion of my personal expenses? Like, how much am I responsible for in my household? What number is that? What does that look like? And I figure out, okay, on a monthly basis, what salary do I need to draw from my own commission check? What does that look like? I also then set aside tax money, just as if I worked for a W-2 employer. And then what's left over when I pull up my business operating account is my business expenses. It's the money I can spend on my business at the end of the month. I know very clearly, okay, I got $2,000 in my operating account. I don't have to worry about retirement. I already put that money aside. Taxes is already set aside. My salary is already set aside. So at the end of the day, this is my business account, my business expenses, and I can use it for whatever I need over the next 1 to 3 months, is what I typically suggest. So I'm always a big believer of saving for our future self. Because if you're like my 79-year-old real estate agent client who came to me 2 years ago because she just didn't see a way out, we have to be thinking about our future. And the further we kick the can down the road, the more complicated we're going to make for ourselves. Anybody have a junk drawer? We all have a junk drawer, junk closet. We throw everything in there. We don't know what's in it. We might have thrown rubber bands in there because we had a project coming up in 6 months from now, but we forgot about the project in 6 months from now. So we go in there and we grab the rubber bands and we use them all. And then in 6 months, we go back and we're like, where are the rubber bands? I don't know. Use them. Now you have to go get more rubber bands. It's chaos, right? Same thing with our bank accounts. Typically, we're operating out of one bank account, personal and business. Minimum, maybe best. Sometimes it's together. What we're trying to do is just create clarity. And by create clarity, we're organizing like a beautiful closet, I like to say. We know where to go to find our shoes. We know where to go to find our jackets and our shirts. Everything is clearly organized and separated. That is how going from chaos to clarity can look, a beautiful organized closet. So I always love to ask real estate agents, when are you going to sell your last house? Do you have any clue when you can sell your last house by choice? Because a lot of times we work for a W-2 employer, they like set it all up for you. 65 or 67, you're going to have your retirement party. You've set aside 6% for retirement and maybe matched it 6%. So you got 12% minimum. Maybe you've done some other things and you get a great party at the end. Well, there's no retirement parties for real estate agents, really, because we don't retire. Because a lot of times we can't. We haven't prepared. So the idea of when am I going to sell my last house, there's no date set. Like if we were an employee. And that's what we want to work on. When can I actually stop selling houses because I need it to pay my bills? I'd rather sell houses because I like to sell houses and I want to sell houses because the extra cash would be nice. What a difference in our mindset and our wording there. So I introduced the retirement ready system, getting us ready for our future. Now, this is a really cool area. A lot of people like to screenshot this or take pictures of this because this feeds into all areas of our life. It's the 4 principles we call the 4 different principles that lead our life. And you probably heard of some of these, which is Parkinson's law. If you have it, you will spend it. If you have it, you will spend it. It's like back in the day when you had cash in your pocket. Remember, they always said you're burning a hole in your pocket. Burning a hole in your pocket because you know the money's in there. Oh, it's fine. I'm going to stop at the gas station and get myself a soda or a coffee or whatever. Cash is just burning a hole, burning a hole. The same thing is with cash in our bank accounts now. When we pull it up and we see it, we will spend it. It's like the toothpaste that we have. When you first get a tube of toothpaste, you're like, oh, it's fine. This is going to last forever. And then when you get down to the last drops, you're like squeezing every little bit out of that toothpaste because you want to try and get every last drop out at the end. It's just like Parkinson's law. The primacy effect is a really important one when it comes to this strategy. Whatever we encounter first, we place more significance on it. So that's why you get to a point where you get so excited because you've been able to put money aside for retirement or for your future, because it's the first thing you do with your commission check in my plan. And then you get excited because you see it growing and you see it growing and you see it growing. And then that becomes your new challenge of how can I grow it? How much can I grow it? How fast can I grow it? We remove temptation, out of sight, out of mind. If you have chocolate in the house, you're going to eat it. I'm guilty of that. Don't put chocolate in the house. Put your money at another bank. Put it under, if you're going to have it at your own bank, make sure you have a separate login and a separate online banking and that they're not connected to your personal accounts, which can happen. You cannot have them connected, so it's not easy to do a transfer. And the retirement ready system, you have to do it with every single commission check. Every commission check that comes in, you have to practice the strategy. So here's a really cool little exercise you can kind of already, you might be able to do in your mind. It's like, how much do I need in retirement? The rule of 25 can come into play here. You multiply your expenses by 25. And that gives you approximately the retirement savings needed. Why? Because come retirement age, especially for a woman, life expectancy is about 25 years. So we want to make sure we have that money set aside and some cushion just in case. Plus inflation and all the things that come with age, aging of money. Here's another really cool little screen of information. But how much do I need to save by what age? Now, this is if I'm starting off with scratch zero. I haven't had a penny saved ever. And someone is just starting. I want them to know, like, this is what it's going to take for you really to get to the number of the rule of 25. If you're at 25 years old, new real estate agent, about 8.2% of your commission checks. If you're at age 45 and you haven't started saving yet, it's about 23% of your commission checks. And then you can see at age 55, it's even greater. I chose a number kind of in between this as part of my strategy because it's kind of what I see the most. We want to try and achieve our income replacement of 70%. So you think about the income that you have right now. We want to try and replace it by 70% for retirement. And the only reason why is because usually by that age, our kids are out of the house and we don't have those expenses. Some of us will, like me, because I have little kids and I'm 43, but most people will not when they come into that retirement phase of life. So here's what I call the optimum business account breakdown. After working with realtors through many different types of programs that are out there, again, going back to the idea of like the number one concern of real estate agents is really, how am I ever going to retire? What is that going to look like for me? So we always talk about paying our future self first. That's so important. How do I pay my future self first? So with a bank account system, again, creating clarity by separating out our accounts according to purpose. What the money is going to be used for is so important. So we have our first account. This is a brand new account you do not have right now. And it's your first checking account. I like to label it income account. Some of my clients call it their commission account. It's where 100% of all of your money comes in, drops all in there. Revenue share, commission, anything just from your real estate account or real estate business. No rental income comes in here. No W-2 income comes in here. This is a completely separate account. Now, because I was in the banking world, I know what it's like when someone gets audited. That is such a fun process. We all want to go through that. But what the income account can do for you when it comes to being audited, the IRS agent is going to want to verify your 1099. And the best and easiest way is to hand them a stack of bank statements from the last 12 months that add up to the 1099 income at the end of the year. They can match it. Instead of having to go through all of your bank statements to figure out where your income came in and how much was it. So the income account is so important for tax purposes. IRS purposes, really. Going back to the primacy effect. We place significance on what we experience first. When I open my accounts up and I see that my retirement savings, my retirement holding account is what I call it, is first, I get so excited because I can see it growing. So the next account we have is a business savings account. It is considered a retirement holding account. I'm going to explain that more in a little bit. But it's a separate account and it's just for holding our retirement account. And it's equal to 15% of every commission check. So we get $10,000 commission check. $1,500 gets transferred to our retirement savings account. $1,500. That feels so good to know I have a strategy in place and I'm starting to save for my future. The next account is our taxes account. Again, extremely critical to have a separate account for this money so we can pay our quarterly taxes if you're an LLC or an S corporation. If the money is mixed in with our other operating money, we don't know what money in that account is for taxes and how much can I spend on expenses. We have no idea. So separating it out is an important piece of the process. And the sooner we do that, the better. And yes, it is not fun to pull up your quarterly IRS link and pay out 40 grand to the IRS in a quarter, or 20 grand to the IRS in a quarter for your taxes. But it's even more painful to get the call from your accountant saying you owe 50 grand, 60 grand, and you are looking at your bank accounts and your credit cards and you don't have a penny. That is 10 times more painful, maybe 100 times more painful than actually having the money set aside and paying your quarterly taxes. 25% gets transferred there. Then a personal salary. So personal salary is something you can actually calculate on your own. What are our total household expenses? How much income is coming in from my spouse or other sources of income, rental, some social security, some people. What other income is coming in? I take all the income coming in from other sources and I minus our household expenses. And that gives me how much money I need to make in 1 month in my real estate business. Then I know I need to take a personal salary every single month of $5,000. That's to cover my personal expenses. So to keep in our equation for optimum account structure, 40% of every commission check goes to our personal salary. $10,000 commission check comes in, 4,000 goes into my personal salary account. Well, shoot, Angela, my personal expenses are 5 grand. I figured that out. Okay, now it's time for you to know that you have $4,000 in your personal salary account. Your expenses are 5,000. The difference is debt or choice to trim your expenses. What do you want? Do you want the debt, or do you now want the control and the ability to get ahead and look at where can we trim expenses this month so that we don't carry any more credit card debt? And then your last account is the business expense account. That's checking account number 3. So overall, we have 3 checking accounts. The business expense account has 20% in it. We have 100% to work with. In order to make each bucket work, 15% for retirement, 25% for taxes, we only can take a 40% salary and 20% for business expenses. Now, why 15% for retirement? I get asked that all the time. That's actually not enough. We should be shooting for between 17 to 20% savings in order for us to get to retirement. Remember that screen I showed you before? If you're this age, this age, this age, you need to start setting this much aside. That really needs to be in your savings bucket number 1. You may not be able to do that right off the bat, but you can work towards that with looking at your expenses, paying off balances, getting rid of cars, whatever you need to do to make sure you're setting money aside for your future. But the average person needs 17 to 20% per person in the household. Now, here's the thing I get a lot. We have a couple men on our call today, and they might agree with this. They might say, yeah, this is probably true. I get from my lady clients, my women clients, oh, my husband's saving for retirement. My spouse is saving for us. Are they saving 30 to 40%? Probably not. So then they're not saving for both of you. They're not putting the money aside that you need. So here again, high level, is we have that first account, it's the income account. It's 100% of all the proceeds go into that account, all the revenue, all the commissions, all the commission checks deposited in there. $10,000 commission check goes right in there when it comes in. Then we're transferring to a retirement holding account. Now, this is not your retirement account. This is to build strategy. And what I say for everyone, your retirement looks different than my retirement. what your future goals are look different than my future goals. You might have future goals of, I want to go buy an investment property. I want to make sure I have a Roth IRA. I can't put money in a Roth IRA because our household makes too much income. So this is a holding tank for your future to decide what you want to do with it. And if you're just starting off, you're like, no, like we're not really wanting to get into investment properties, or, I want to make sure I'm actually saving for retirement. How do I do that? My first piece of advice is talk to your bank. Your bank will not do you wrong. They can't. They're a government entity and they would shut down if they gave you bad advice. So walk into your bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I want to talk to somebody here about my future retirement. What are my options? And there's lots of great options for real estate agents. There's SEP IRAs, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, HR 16 plans. There's all sorts of things if you want to start with some type of traditional retirement. And the retirement holding account has 15% in it from every commission check that you can then transfer to whatever the strategy is for your future. Again, savings account number 2 is your taxes. Why 25%? I get asked that a lot too. Well, if you walk into your accountant's going to say 36 to 37% because that's the highest tax rate. After your tax deductions, especially as a real estate agent, you're going to end up typically, not always, with a tax rate of about 25%. I've seen less, I've seen more. I've not seen less than 18. The lowest was 18%. So I like to say kind of conservatively, stay around 25%. Again, this is an area to talk to your tax advisor, but get it set aside in a separate account. Then your salary account. Again, 40% of every commission check, $10,000 commission check comes in. I transfer $1,500 to my retirement holding account, 25% to my taxes, $4,000 for my salary. Awesome. 3 of my buckets are already checked off. And I'm separating out my funds. And this is what you receive for running your business. It's so important to make sure you understand you're running a business. Number one, you're the CEO of your own business. So you have to treat it like it's a business. And by taking a salary from your business, that's how you do it. And then what's left over is the only leftover calculation out of 100%, which is 20%. 20% for your business expenses. And these are the funds that you can use for your coaching, your business expenses, your virtual assistants, your employees. Now I have clients that say, well, Angela, my business expenses are like 40%. What am I going to do? Well, look at your personal expenses then. How much are your personal expenses? Can you move some percentages from your personal expenses to your business expenses potentially? Or can you trim expenses somewhere to bring them in alignment with being able to do a 15, a 25, a 40, and a 20 percentage splits? So again, this is overall kind of high level. This is where I like to start with someone, especially a brand new agent that hasn't sold any houses. Like, this is key from house number 1 is getting everything separated. 100% into your income account. Then we transfer the funds to the retirement, taxes, salary, and your business expenses. So I always say I have lots of master classes that come up. I would love for any of you to join them. I put on 2 to 3 a month sometimes. I have a private group that I do them in. Lindsay has graciously invited me to hers. I'm always out in the community trying to do presentations and get the word out on how to create more income for your business, because that's what I know how to do for people. I know how to help them create more income. I also have a private Facebook group, just like you guys are in. If you would like to check me out, I have about 700, close to 700 agents in my group, and all I talk about is money. money, 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 money in that group. And my launch for next year is going to be even more incredible. I've been working on it for the last few years to get it where it's at today. So I love for anybody that wants to learn more about their money and how to manage their money better to hop into my Facebook group. Now, what I always offer for anyone that attends my masterminds, the ability that you're like, Angela, I know I need some help. I don't even know where to go. I have a financial advisor, but I know they're not doing as much as I need them to do. You know, I see them once a year, once every 6 months, but I just need something else. I need more. Or maybe you don't even have a financial advisor and you don't have an accountant. You don't have all these professionals out there just trying to wing it and make it on your own. I offer every person a 2-hour deep dive session with me just for attending one of my master classes. Normally I charge $497 for that. So if you're like, yeah, I need some help, jump on my calendar for 30 minutes and we will talk about what's happening in your life and how I might be able to help you. And here's the number one thing I want you guys to know. The two areas that hold real estate agents and everyone back from making change is shame and guilt. Shame and guilt around how I've been managing my money. I should know by now how to manage my money. I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 60s. I should know how to do this. And so we don't do anything. We freeze. And we don't know who to trust. We don't know who to go to. Because also I had someone last week say there's so many things that are thrown at you, so many options thrown at you. Like, what do I even choose? What's best for me? And that's something we figure out. I'm going through an exercise tomorrow with someone where we literally going to look at 5 different options for her on one area of her life. And we're going to compare them for her to be able to make the best choice. And that's what we do. So I'd love to see you on my calendar if you feel like this is something that is interesting or needed, or you need some more help. I give you that 2 hours complimentary and would love to talk to you. And that's it. I say, congratulations, you are financially free. Well, we're working towards financial freedom, which is what we all are working towards. We're all working towards financial freedom, peace, wealth. Every human being is working towards the same things. We just don't know exactly how to get there. And I would love to try and help you.
Angela, thank you so much. This is so helpful. And I loved how you broke down the buckets because as a student of Profit First, it was a different twist on the percentages. So I thought that was really helpful. Curious if folks have questions, feel free to come off mute. We've got Angela for another 12 minutes. So I want to make sure that we're maximizing her time. I selfishly had a quick question. Angela, have you played around with the Relay software that does automatic transfers? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, if someone's not glued to their bank, then Relay is who I suggest when it comes to their business accounts. Yeah, Relay is fantastic for the organization and the transfers, the automatic transfers, all of the simplicity it offers. I just think it's so simple. That is something that I loved about it. But yes, that is where I usually suggest if you're not glued to your bank, check out Relay Financial for opening those different accounts and for getting the automatic transfer set up according to those percentages. And it's super easy, super intuitive. But yes, that's a great bank.
Yeah, I was checking it out for myself because again, Profit First, love it. I have all my accounts, but it's getting in the account and transferring the money that drives me nuts. So I was looking at AI, and I stumbled upon Relay, and I was like, oh, this could solve my world's problems.
It is amazing to me. Not they're the only bank that does that. Why doesn't every bank offer that type of service? Because not only are they growing their number of accounts someone has with them, but you're literally making them that they can't ever leave or don't ever want to leave for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And I am all about simplicity. And if I could wave a magic wand, that is one feature I wish Bank of America offered and Wells Fargo offered and all the other banks offered, was this type of transfer system that Relay offers. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, good to see you.
Hey, coach.
Greg, you got any questions for Angela?
Gosh, no questions. Pretty straightforward. I got some good notes. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Locked and
I
loaded.
love, I know you brought up the profit first system, and I love the profit first system. Again, there's so many different systems out there. There's a lot, and it can be overwhelming. Like, which one's for me, which one is not for me. What I find with a real estate agent, when like, what do you really want? Like, what do you want? Like, I want to know one day I don't have to do this anymore. And for me, that's retirement. Okay, now let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we get there. What does that look like? They don't understand profit all the time. They don't always understand, why do I need to be profitable? Well, your profitability can be used for other things. So this is more of a clued in way for them to put pieces together that can link to where they want to get to in the future.
Yeah.
Mm.
I really
Thank
liked how
you.
you broke down the old way of stacking your money and then the current way of stacking your money. That was just a very simplistic way to put it. So thank you so much for highlighting that. Because I feel like you said something that I was like, yes, amen. Like when the business made $10,000, Lindsay Litton did not make $10,000. And that right there, I say that all the time in my one-on-one coaching clients. I'm like, this is your business's money, not your money.
Right, right. And if we know that or knew that from paycheck number one, commission check number one, how much our life would be so different, especially that first year. Because that leads into year number two. It bleeds into year number two. And then year number three, it bleeds into year number three, because then we're trying to pay back taxes and pay current taxes. So we're double dipping on that. That's the number one reason I find any type of system works better than what we're doing, is just so we can get that tax money separated out amongst anything else. Because the tax man's always going to call on us. They always will collect. And then they're going to collect more because we haven't done our part by paying our taxes.
And I will tell you, as somebody that made that mistake early on, you get one grievance with the IRS. They will waive the tax fees once and then you're done. So get good at understanding how to separate your tax money. I did when I had to write a check for $27,000. So there you go.
That is what happens. It's usually by some type of check written, like, there has to be a different way. There has to be a better way. How can I get ahead of this next time? And then you have 1 year of pain, really, because you're having to pay those back taxes and put money aside for the future taxes. It's tough.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this today.
Yeah. Any other questions? Eric, anything that you want to ask Angela or collectively from the group?
No, I like the presentation. It's, driving it in. I think the question I have is, AI is doing a lot now in terms of budgeting, and just throw the money in and it's getting smart enough to say, okay, this is going to go here, this is going to go here. But you still need that human person, to say where, okay, what do you want to do with it? And you still have to have that human touch. So I still have my financial advisor.
Yeah.
But
Right.
AI does make it easier. That's the thing. It's like, I'm always worried about it just getting hacked.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was playing around with AI the other day and then I thought to myself, okay, let's not give it too much information. Because I definitely don't want to get it hacked. I know Hermosi's AI recently got hacked. So,
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, his big AI that he did for his book launch got hacked.
Wow.
I did not
Yeah.
hear about that. Oh boy. Crazy. Eric, you're right though. I mean, AI is, I use AI every day for different things. Just to write an email better than what I could write it. What I've found with budgeting is we all think we know what our numbers are, but our numbers are not even close to what we think. So through the process, it's figuring out what are my true numbers? Like, what do I truly spend in X amount? I think I spend this. I can tell you that's not even. So if we don't have accurate information to plug in, it's not gonna give us accurate information on the way out. So that's the piece when it comes to the AI, is making sure your numbers are accurate, or it's not going to work for you. You're going to keep following the same plan that's already broken. So start with a budget that is based off of what have I actually spent in each area of my life, personal and business. What does that look like? So that if I am using some type of tool like that, it's accurate for what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool. It's funny though, because like Lindsay, just like you said, I went from being an employee to employer, and that was a rude awakening. Wait a minute, we have a department that takes all that stuff out. You said treat it like a W-2, and when you're an employee, it's taking care of you. And then all of a sudden you're like the first year and a half in, you go, wait a minute, I have to do all this stuff. So you have to backtrack, and it's like, okay, now I have to justify everything. Here comes the audit. But then now I've learned my lesson that I actually check it every week. Like I let it collect everything, but I still have like a little, I still call it a little bit of budget, but I have a budget day. Sunday's always the budget day. Look at the numbers. So
Love it, love it, love it, love it. I love it. I love a routine when it comes to our money and our finances. I call it a financial self-care routine. It's really just sitting down and hunkering down, looking at where my numbers are. Where do I stand? It's financial self-care. We all need it. We all need it. So great job, Eric. That's wonderful to hear. Makes me happy.
well, it wasn't at the outset though.
Yeah.
Like Lindsay's saying, it's like, oh, I just thought I work. I do and stay in my loan of genius. Oh, okay, I have a bookkeeper. Oh, I have an accountant. Whoops, whoopsie. The last thing you say, oh, you owe 35,000. What?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it was like, I thought the bookkeeper was paying it. I thought the CPA.
What about all my expenses? I know I spent a lot for this damn business. So.
Oh,
Great.
well, Angela, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us today. Every month I host a different mastermind on a subject that really applies to business owners and leveling them up from being a solopreneur into the CEO seat. So next month we're going to be doing another mastermind. You guys are all on the replay and list to join, so you'll get the email on next month's topic. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you have questions, concerns, I know Eric, Greg, you dropped your email in the chat. I'll make sure that Angela gets those. And if you didn't scan our QR code, it will make sure that it's in the replay so you guys can get connected. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Always good to see you. Thanks for coming on camera. Melanie, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next month.